String wide, 3 chairs pulled up and a mic on the side. Nobody selling, everybody sharing. Turn the camera on, that's the only thing we're wearing. Fall's coming in and the season's gonna break, so we call the ones who know what it takes. Pictor.pro show and tell. Come and get it while they're getting swell. Pictor.pro show and tell. We don't gatekeep, we just ring the bell. Lisa Oler, she's been down in the trench. Built it, sold it, sat back on the bench. Nah, that's a lie, she never sat down once. Turned around and taught the whole dang bunch. Academy door, she holds them open wide. Says the craft ain't the booth, it's the person inside. Ask her what scales and she'll tell you straight. Systems beat hustle and hustle beats fate. She's the one who says the quiet part loud, so lean in close when she works the crowd. Pictor.pro show and tell. Come and get it while they're getting swell. Pictor.pro show and tell. We don't gatekeep, we just ring the bell. Meir Israel, South Beach heat, sand in the cable run, sun on the street. SoBe Booths where the palm trees lean, builds a night out of light and a photo machine. Found it twice over, he don't slow the pace. Illuminate the room, then illuminate the space. Miami don't wait and neither does he. Ships it Friday, iterates by 3. Ask him what's next and he'll show you the rig. Half of the industry followed him big. Pictor.pro show and tell. Come and get it while they're getting swell. Pictor.pro show and tell. We don't gatekeep, we just ring the bell. Zach Schiffman, Studio Z, stage manager, brain network TV. Count it down live where you can't take it back. 3, 2, 1, and there ain't no second track. So he runs an event like a broadcast cue. Every mark hit, every light on you. Talent don't panic when the timing is tight. That's a booth operator who's been under the light. Bring that discipline into the room and tell you where the chaos hides in the zoom. Now here's what's coming for the fall, y'all. 360 spin, it ain't over yet. Blaming black and white, still the safest bet. AI in the backdrop, AI in the frame. Half of them love it, half of them complain. Rolling doors, walking through the reception line. QR delivery gallery online. Print's not dead, print is the souvenir. Digital travels, but paper stays a year. Corporate wants data, couples want the vibe. Holiday season's coming, better staff the tribe. Branded activations, that's the money in the fall. So bring your questions, we're answering them all. Pictor.pro show and tell. 360 spinning like a carousel. Pictor.pro show and tell. Lisa, Mayor, Zach, ring the bell. Pictor.pro show and tell. 1 hour live and you know it's gonna sell. Now we ain't selling, we're just here to tell. Show, hey, 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 tell. Show, hey, 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 tell. Show. 1 o'clock EST, chairs are still warm. Replays up, coming out of the storm. Fall's gonna break and the booth's gonna roll. Pictor.pro, show and tell y'all.
Hello, 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 hello. Thank you everybody for joining us. We're going to be doing something a teeny bit different today in the sense that we're going to start with our cams off, or sorry, cams on. We can all say hello and shout each other out. And then we're going to go cams off except for the roundtable folks. So if anyone wants to turn their camera on, say hello. Anyone who is joining us for the first time, thank you so much. Anyone who is a regular, thank you as well. I'm Nicholas. I'm the founder of Pictor.pro, which you're hopefully familiar with since you're here today. I also run a photo booth company, which is called Outsnapped, and we've assembled today, in addition to the audience, some of my favorite players in the audience, some of my favorite players in the industry, who I often look up to and chat with about new and cool things that are coming up that I'm excited about. So I'm very excited to share that conversation with you. I put a poll in the chat where I think it pops up separately. If you guys want to answer that, because we're going to use some of that feedback as we talk about trends. There's questions about the most popular booth, what types of events are most popular, and some open-ended stuff as well. Sounds good. So at this point, I am going to invite everyone to turn on their microphones, yell hello and where they're from, and then we will pop into some intros from the Roundtable folks. I see Rick.
Yeah, driving through Atlanta right now, headed to DC.
Sounds good. Hey, Valeria.
Hi, I'm Valeria. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. So first timer.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Great. Hey, Mark. Cool.
Hey, Mark Riddell from Beyond Photos DC, outside of DC in Rockville, Maryland.
Very cool. Hey, Kayla.
Hello. Hey, I'm Kayla. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska.
Sounds good. Great. And we also have a bunch of other folks that will hopefully chime up during the Q&A at the end. Also from our team, we have Eva, who sits on both the Outsnapped and Pictor team. She will be monitoring the chat throughout this as well. And I think we'll kick it off. Cool. So those of you who are not in the roundtable, please turn off your cams and mics, and we will invite you back up in a little bit. Great. Cool. So thank you all for joining us. This is a super exciting day for me because I get to hear what's going on in your businesses as well and what you think is trending coming up as well. So neato. Let us start. Those of you who are not up here with us today, please in the chat, let us know where you're joining us from, what your most popular booths are this fall, and what's one thing you'd like us to answer today in the Q&A. Today we have Lisa Oler joining us, who has a much larger CV than White Label Creative. I'll pass over to her in a moment to introduce herself. Meir Israel from SoBe Booths and Zach from Studio Z. Our plan today is, as we said, mics open for the panel, for everyone else at the top. We're going to record this and send out a replay to anyone who is here. Please do drop questions in the chat. We went over that, and we do have a giveaway at the end. So we're going to be giving away 50 free AI tokens to Pictor. Please pull out your cell phones and scan that QR code. You can do it while we're chatting here. We'll also share this at the end so you're not too distracted. And we also have 5 PBX Europe passes to give away as well. Drop in the chat if you plan to go to PBX Europe as well. I'd love to see you there. So let's hand over to Lisa. Lisa, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're most excited about at the moment.
Well, good morning. I just want to say thank you for that song intro. That was hilarious, Nicholas. That was very, very creative. I had a good time listening.
Thank you. I'll send it to you for your CV.
Yeah, just keep adding to it, if you will, please. Gosh, I'm an OG in the industry. Started way back, when a lot of you were probably still in diapers. I call myself the old grandma. That's what the old OG is. I launched Photo Booth way back in the day. I then was acquired by LA Photo Party. I do now primarily White Label Creative as my own company, working primarily with other companies like yourselves who are looking for white label partners. That's kind of been my passion, is kind of creating that network in our industry. And to that, I was a co-founder of PBPI, which was one of the first educational conferences for photo booth owners back in the day. And I'm also a co-creator of Illuminate Creative, which is the next iteration of that educational compass, if you will, in our industry. So I'm so happy to be here and seeing a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces as well. Thanks for having me on, Nicholas.
Yeah, you bet. And I know that you're working with Meir. Tell me, I want to pronounce it correct. Yeah,
Mayor.
I only get spooked sometimes. I don't know why today I am getting the nerves, but I'm like talking over myself and my tongue. It's just, I'm in such awe of the people I get to share the stage with. Mayor, I know you're also working with Lisa on Illuminate. So if one of you would like to give a little bit of a primer on kind of what makes it different than what else is out there, I think that would be great and people would really enjoy hearing that. So I'll pass to you, Mayor, and you can maybe introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what's different with Illuminate than the other educational offerings out there right now.
Sure. So the thing that we've been noticing in the industry for a few years now is that there's no higher education for any of us. There are trend topics, there are what's new, what's hot, there are things that support vendors with regards to helping to either introduce products or help them evolve in slow, small ways. There's nothing that really encourages growth after you've got everything up and running and you're sitting around going, okay, but something needs to change. There's no continuing education for when you've been doing this for many years and you've been a little slack on changing things up, because when you stagnate, you die. And that is the death of any successful company. There's no education that goes beyond persons within our own industry teaching you valuable lessons that you maybe don't know about the service industry yourself. You maybe don't know about operating a business, things that you maybe don't know about how to grow or how to exit if that is your end goal. So we're very excited to be working with all of our sponsors. We're going to be doing some very, very interesting and very unique things that folks aren't used to seeing that go beyond the trends that give you an edge on everybody at least 6 months to a year out from everyone else. But our goal is not necessarily just to show trending items and talk about trending items in those times. Our goal is to really help each individual person that's going to the educational retreat to expand themselves and expand their business in a way that they didn't have the finger on, but knew they needed to accomplish.
Yeah, this is great. And I think Zach and I actually went to the same college. And one of my biggest gripes with Emerson is they taught us a lot, but like not how to run a business. They're like, you're going to commercial art school. Like, here's some commercial art techniques and nothing like how to write a RFP, right? Like none of the practical things you need to get a job even in this day and age, right? So I think that's amazing. I would love for you to say a little bit about yourself too and your business, so folks know a little bit more about you personally.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everybody. For those unfamiliar faces, my name is Meir Israel. I own the South Beach Photo Booth Company. We have most recently celebrated our 16-year anniversary. Excuse me. We're about to celebrate our 16-year anniversary. What's today? In 4 days. So we're very excited about that. We started as photographers who just wanted a photo booth for a little extra income. The way that we were servicing our clients turned into its own entity. About 5 years into that, with a lot of our great relationships within the corporate sector, turned into branching out into a sister company, which is called Hollywood Gameworks. So aside from a photo booth company, I also own and operate a gaming rental and experience company that almost exclusively operates in the corporate event field as well. It was birthed out of what they call scope creep, which is when you take your expertise and you kind of push it to the side a little bit. It happened because a lot of our corporate planners trusted in us so much, needed a local vendor to rely on, and just kept asking until we finally gave in. And we operate in our own way. Much like our photo booth company has its own style and its own flavor, and the things that we will do and the things we won't do for it. Both companies not only are healthy, but like both companies, helped us get through 2020, the magic that was, with our shirts on, because we got to do a lot of different type of virtual activations while we were operating for it. These days we do a lot of corporate, less social. We work a lot with corporate conventions, and we, also do a lot of brands and activations and agency work as well. And it's fun to see the industry evolve from what it was back to where it was in some ways with some trends, and we're looking forward to the future.
Amazing, amazing. And I imagine both businesses sort of work as lead magnets and funnels for the others too.
It can, yeah. It helps to be a reliable partner. We do try to operate each of the companies separately so that they retain their identity. This also helps to keep them from falling into like a value shortcoming,
Sure.
meaning, while we want to help everybody, we're not in the discount realm. Like we're not like,
Yeah.
oh, if you book both, like
Totally,
because
totally.
both require their own logistics, both require their own setup, operation, things of that nature. But it's helpful to be on everybody's tongue no matter what.
Yes, for sure. Great. And Zach, how about yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm reading what you wrote about me first. That's all pretty factual. I started my company in 2012 as a side hustle, and now people love to introduce me to their friends and say, oh, he has a side hustle when he's not working in TV doing a photo booth company. And I always have to stop them and say, I'm sorry, the TV job is my side hustle. I work full time running and operating a solo business. As a solo operator, I've sold over 5 million in sales since 2012, with no staff support, with the exception of daily hire event staff. Nobody full time. We operate nationwide. We're based in New York, New Jersey, but we do a lot of our work in LA these days. I probably white label out more than most of people in here do. So I have a good sense on how all that works and what I expect from a white label provider. I do also work in television on the side when I'm not flying all over. And we focus mainly on corporate these days. We don't really advertise to the social wedding crowds anymore. We do more low volume, high profit events. I don't want to burn out, and I have found that if I spend my time chasing $1,500, $2,500 events, I miss out on the 50,000 to 60,000 events. So I spend my time going for the high net worth companies versus the one-off social event corporate crowds that are one and done and won't return.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that, yes, for sure. And I think that it's super aspirational for people to even hear some of those numbers, because I don't think a lot of people understand that that's even possible. I think also with the way that the industry and the internet and the world has changed, it's a lot easier to get clients outside of your normal little town. I grew up in a small suburb of New York. Like, we were not pitching to big name people conceptually, right? And now some of our biggest competitors as a company operating out of New York City are not in New York City. We are
Totally.
not, often pitching against companies who we've never heard of from somewhere in the middle of the country. And it's fascinating. It's wonderful. It's been really interesting to see that grow.
That's one of those things, people always say, oh, well, you're in the New York market, you're in the LA market. You take someone like David Hobreth, who's in the Cleveland market, but doesn't really do events in Cleveland.
Right.
He has a low cost of living, low operational cost, and he travels, and he's a nationwide company.
Exactly.
So you can do it anywhere.
Exactly. Cool. So let's hop into some rapid fire questions, and then we will circle back on some of those. So let's start with fall in one word. Lisa, go for it.
Last minute bookings. No, that's 3.
Close enough. You got to squeeze them in the last, and I will second that one.
How about hashtag last minute bookings? That's
perfect.
one word.
Yep.
There we go.
Meir?
Education.
Cool. October. Zach, how about yourself?
I was also going to say last minute bookings.
Yeah, that's something that we talked about briefly before this call started, is we have noticed, we've all been in this industry a handful of years, and prior to COVID, it was not rare to have 8 weeks to plan an event. And what we see on our side is a lot of stuff will come in 8 to 10 weeks out. People disappear, and then 2 days before they want more than they were asking for at less of a price, and they don't want to hear about rush fees. So that definitely does seem to be a trend. Something that surprised me this past spring in at PBX in Las Vegas was the prevalence of the 360 booth and seeing the booths that people were purchasing on site. Are you guys still doing a lot of 360 booths? Any?
I'm happy to
Zero.
jump in.
Zero.
Zero?
10%.
10%? Zach?
Yeah, it's definitely gone down. I have a few yearly repeat clients that just kind of re-sign the contract and
Yep.
do it. But we don't get a lot of active leads for 360 anymore. I think it's kind of played out.
Same. And I think, on Played Out, one of the things that's interesting, and we can get into this a little bit more, and Meir touched on this before, what's old is new. Our two most popular things are super AI video and as close to an analog sit-in photo booth as possible. So I suspect that 360 booth will have its day in the sun again.
We keep saying this, what's old is new again.
Yep.
We just keep seeing this cycle in the industry.
Yeah,
Totally.
which means we're new because we're old, which is wonderful. Lisa and I are best buds from back in the day. For everything, we have a lot of the same roots and the same operations. So every now and then we just get to laugh at like the things that are suddenly on trend in your FYPs and on your Instagram feed.
Right.
For going, we did that a decade ago
Okay.
for it. But as as advanced operators, any one of us, who are here, the key is not necessarily just to bring it back, but to make it current, authentic, and also, like an actual true experience for the guest, with it. Because it's just like Nick said, we're seeing two polarizing things right now, which is so funny to me, that everybody either wants to live in the fantasy world of AI stuff, or they want the most in-hand analog thing that you've ever experienced in your life, for it. And to me, it's a hoot. It's just it's almost bipolar.
Yeah, for sure. And on that, AI activations, peaking, here to stay, changing. What are your thoughts? Wants to dive in?
I'll dive.
Yeah, go.
I think there are times and places for AI photo activations. I made some decent money this year with one client
Staying.
that I don't think it's for the wedding space. I still think it's weird to go to a wedding and turn people into pirates or Teletubbies or what have you. I think there is a niche for, like, I got hired by Luxottica, who owns Ray-Ban and Oakley and all those brands, and we turn guests into their campaign imagery. So we took an image of Spike Lee wearing Oakley Metas and made people into that ad. Those kind of things. And we've done that virtually. We've done that physically at conventions as lead generators, as talking points. I think that's where it shines. I think the robot sketches have a place in the world too, where my AI flourishes is the ability to now code anything I need for my clients. 2026 has become this year of not saying no. In times when I used to scramble to our friend group chats and other things saying, how can I do this? Now I get off and high off of sitting at home on ChatGPT or Claude, building a one-off app to solve a problem for a client, or solving a problem with one of our softwares that can't do something.
Totally. And I think I've had one wedding ever that would have been the best for AI, which was years ago. They were a couple that was obsessed with Back to the Future.
Sure.
Showed up in a DeLorean. Lloyd married them, the whole 9 yards. We did it with green screen. It was very fun, but they would have lost their minds on what's possible now.
Yeah.
But yes,
totally.
overall, I think it's a kind of a weird thing to do at a wedding. I would rather see myself dressed up, suited with my friends and fam.
Right.
We're seeing a lot of it, yes, in the corporate space, the situations you spoke about. We're also seeing it a lot more in the lead gen trade show world, right? Everyone wants a superhero for some reason. I'm hoping that trend goes away, because I'm like, oh, you're a dog food company. Like, why don't we make your, like, something cool with a dog, or like make the owner look like their dog? And they're like, no, superhero. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for that trend to go away. The other thing that we're betting on a lot at Pictor is that AI is here to stay and not necessarily in the way we are thinking of it. So Zach, you gave a really great example on that. For us, I'm seeing it as a great way to do a glam filter or a blemish removal. We at PBX this past February, God, feels like 2 years ago, showcased a DSLR with the incorrect settings out of focus, and we were able to do before and afters of a perfectly rendered photo of that person. So there's a lot of use cases for AI that I don't think we've experimented with. I think the pendulum has swung over here, and we're going to like start to see some really great use cases. And that's something that we've been very bullish on at Pictor.
Yeah, I think back in the day, Nick, we used droplets and Photoshop actions to do now what we're asking AI to do.
Yeah,
So I think it's still like that, what's old is new again. I'll keep going, I'll keep harkening back to that, only because we're finding new and different ways to do things that we used to do before. And
100%.
AI is making that easier and easier. And I think it's opening more options. So I definitely think AI activations are definitely here to stay. I don't know that it's always going to be photos per se. I think we're all going to use AI differently in our activations for our clients.
100%. And one of the things that Zach mentioned too, like in Pictor, we have webhooks, right? Which is, let me even take it one step back. Because we all have access to the entire internet through ChatGPT or Claude, when I say webhooks and you have no idea what that means, you could go and literally learn in 5 minutes everything about webhooks. And so what that also means is you now have access to this super, super technical thing that you have always had access to, but it's maybe been out of your reach, right? So webhooks are the ability to, in our case, share an email via someone's CMS versus Pictor CMS, or to immediately put a photo somewhere, or to immediately get an email address to a client. So there's a way, like based on actions that happen, you can send information outside of the software. So Zapier is a really great example of sort of webhooks at play, because that's what Zapier is built on. Neat. Zach, you're one to speak on. What do you think is the most overrated purchase in the industry right now, excluding the overhead 360, which we all know is going to have its day?
I think consumer level glambots. I think, and I've owned 3. I've used 1, and I've done it for 1 client. I've lost money on it. I do real glambot setups on occasion. Those are great, even though that has come down in price now. I think the output isn't there. I think it's shaky. I think it's kitschy still. And I think, and on a easier day, better day, I can make equal, if not better money running a gimbal with a much better output.
Yeah, I think my 2 cents on that is one of the things that we always try and think about at Outsnapped and when we're designing Pictor is there's 2 real parts of the photo activation, right? There's the output, which is what the clients typically think of, but there's also the experience of what it is. And the more affordable, for lack of a better term, glam bots, they have part of that experience, but there's nothing like having one of those robots fly at you faster than you can see it, right? Or like your client's jaw dropping when you bring that thing on a flatbed truck. It's like there's different things, there's different pomp and circumstances. I do think that like from a consumer perspective, that at a wedding like is going to blow some minds, and I do think that there's like a time and place for it. But yes, I agree with you on most fronts there. How about you, Meir?
I have to agree with Zach with regards to the glambot itself. And again, speaking as an old person who's been doing this a long time, we saw this same kind of trend back in like when Zach, when was like the big Vogue party after the Met Gala?
Yeah.
The first one that they ever did was like 2012, 2013, something like that, for it. And
like a Vogue booth, you mean?
Yeah.
No. Like the first time they brought in like the cinematographer and they brought in all the celebrities and stuff like that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Like the Missy Elliott.
So like
video.
Yeah. So like we all got that request, from people immediately. And back in those days, it wasn't a thing that we all could do. Like now you can do it with an iPhone, on Snap or Pictor, etc. But it comes down to the same thing. It's like, they like the output, but they don't understand that like, a conference of 300 insurance agents, isn't going to look the same,
Yeah.
glamorous type thing. And it's the same thing for the glam bots, with respect to what Zach just said, there's a technical aspect to it that's different than what you're seeing on TV. But more so, having the average person do something amazing inside of 2 seconds, unprompted, unscripted, and unprofessional
Yeah.
is a huge ask, to do with
It,
all.
the Cole glambot makes it look very easy because celebrities are beautiful people who know what they're doing. They're coached. They are wearing extravagant gowns, this and that. And then you roll into this corporate event with a bunch of engineers from Dell or PepsiCo who half of them have traveled in from other countries and don't really speak the language. And then they're wearing t-shirt and shorts and they don't know what to do. And it just makes for a really awkward slow motion video for sure.
Yeah, agreed. An expensive one at that.
Yeah.
One of the things I also like about the gimbal at the sort of entry level is that you can do something unique for each person. You can identify that maybe this person's wearing shorts and not go below the waist, or, they have these incredible glasses. So you're going to go in on that, or a piece of jewelry. And I think that that's a really, I think it's a better way of doing it, honestly.
You also have the ability to go two ways with it. You can rent a gimbal for like $80 from Lens Rentals with whatever rig and setup you want. You don't have to invest the money in thousands and thousands of dollars. I used to buy all my gear, and then one day I was like, why the fuck am I not renting things? And I learned, I was like, oh, I'll just rent a gimbal. I'll rent the lens I need. I'll rent a new R8 if I need it. Or the other way is you pay someone $500-600 to be a proper gimbal operator, and you show them, we're connecting a phone to your rig, yada yada. And
They love that.
if I can operate a gimbal, but when I have a high-end client, like we did the Traders Reunion for NBC, strictly for social, and it was a 1-hour content shoot. I'm like, I'm not good enough for this. I don't trust my own ability. I operate a gimbal 5 times a year. I brought in someone whose life is using a gimbal. And, I saw my strengths. I reached out to Shelly from Pop Social. I said, I need one of your people. And she was like, I have a great, DP camera guy. And I used him and it was phenomenal. And I directed and I took the stress off myself and got a product that was way better.
Gotcha. I agree. Lisa, do you want to chime in with anything?
Oh, I was just kind of saying, give me a jib and a floor dolly and I'm a happy camper.
I love
I
that.
don't-
Like, and that's a pump and circumstance thing too, right? You see that thing like in the movies and you're moving the camera on the end, like people are wowed by that stuff. And that's like the oldest, easiest way to do it. Cool. Bouncing in corporate clients. Are we doing print, digital, or both?
Both.
Both. I think we see a lot of, like you said, that pendulum swings back and forth. I see a lot of our industry kind of going back in that analog direction.
Same.
And prints are becoming a bigger component of that. And what I love about a lot of these print companies or printer companies is that they're introducing new and unique and creative ways to offer printing.
Yes.
So it's not just a 4x6 or a 2x6 photo strip. You've got so many more options now.
Yeah, it's to piggyback off that. I know that we're seeing I would say like probably a 50% increase in prints. We've always at Outsound, I just hate dealing with printers, so we've always like kind of made it arbitrarily expensive. And when someone is willing to pay for it, I'll suck it up and do it. However, we get more and more people asking for it now, so we're actually kind of reducing our print costs to satisfy folks. But that's been probably a 50% increase in requests this year, especially for the fall on that. Meir, Zach, anything on your side?
I think they're. Go ahead, Meir.
No. All right. I just want to build on the idea. Like, I don't think a corporate client not doing prints is always necessarily having to do with budget. Sometimes it's a big traveling event, and they just don't want to burden people with something else to carry.
100%, yeah. And I think that the takeaway is different for people. Like, obviously, you can't print a video. So depending on what you're doing for the particular event, that'll do it. Zach, did you have something you wanted to add?
I think sometimes we get jaded too, where we know everything we have at our disposal, but like corporate clients, a lot of times they don't know anything beyond like a mall photo booth. Like I had a client reach out last night and said, like, we have a trade show in Vegas, 3 days, like we want yada yada yada. And I said, okay, cool. Can you tell me more about like what your output needs are? And he's like, what do you mean by that? Like to him, he just knows photo booth.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he wanted video, like he didn't mark anything on the intake form. So I was trying to get more information, but he literally had no idea.
Yeah.
And to your point, like I get clients all the time that are like, we have this video op and we want to print a takeaway. And I'm like, those things don't happen. Like yeah, you could do it, but it's an awful idea. Like it's a lot of education in there too.
One of the things that we do in our sales process, I have a rule of threes where I will try and educate my client 3 times. And then I shift into documenting that what my ideas were. And then I start telling people that their ideas are the best thing I've ever heard. And let's move forward. Right. So it's like, okay, cool. Like we've done this 50 times and I can tell you exactly why you shouldn't do that, but you don't want to hear it. This is a great segue. What is the #1 red flag that you're seeing in a inquiry lately?
Flat out asking for an AI photo booth with no concept, vision, or peripheral.
Right. Yep. I feel like it's become a checkbox. Like, oh, we need an AI photo booth because our company is AI forward. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. That's how we end up with all those superheroes, I think, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I interestingly got a service agreement from a corporate client brand today in lieu of our contract, and they had a clause that we weren't allowed to use AI in any form in their event. And I'd never seen that before, and I thought it was fascinating.
So we have done a bunch of stuff, and I'm sure most of you have, with the HBOs and the Netflix and Warner Brothers, and we've consulted on things with them about different AI stuff. And yeah, people, first off, there's no clear definition of what AI is, right? I'm like, oh, well, we actually use Gmail to send you that email. So how am I supposed to, it has spell check in it. Like that's AI, guys, right? So I think that most folks don't actually even know what it is or what they're afraid of. And those are very slippery slope conversations you get into with a privacy officer or someone on those teams. But yeah, it's impossible. In modern day times, it's like you can't use Uber to go to the event. Like, and that's the kind of conversations you get. And you're like, but we send our team there via Uber. They use AI to route the car. So I think that's an interesting thing. How do you handle that? Like, what's your response?
Thankfully, like this lead was for a Scribble booth. Like, there's no AI involved, so I will just say fine. Like if there's something I'm doing on the back end, like I'm not going to tell them I made an overlay design in ChatGPT. But if they had come to me and said like, hey, we want to turn everyone into superheroes, and then their event contract said that, we would have an issue. Because then it opens you up to liability.
Situation like that, you're not concerned with like face counting and things like that. Like I
don't really give those metrics because I mean, if you ever use SnapPix like individual count, it's not real.
Right.
It counts every person the same. But yeah, anywho.
Totally. Lisa, anything you want to piggyback on there?
I think a lot of these marketing interns come in with, they're blasting RFPs out for these big events. We have 1,000 people. How many booths will I need? They come up with no creative brief, no concept, no budget. And, then we return, I'm working with a white label partner right now. We had some amazing ideas for booths. It was going to be this huge activation. And they're like, oh, whoa, no, we had no idea that that's what this was going to cost.
Yeah.
Well, you have 1,000 people at a corporate event and you've got, 4 to 6 hours to get through. You tell me then what your budget is and I can tell you what we can do. But there's just that whole dichotomy. They have no idea what the costs are for what we do.
Yeah. And
so it's just that educational part.
One thing, I think, let's take one teeny step back. We all keep mentioning white labeling. It is an industry standard term, but in case folks don't know what it is, Lisa, do you want to tell them literally what white label creative is and what white labeling is just briefly, and then we can scoot into the next?
Yeah. So white labeling is where you are reaching out to another partner in the industry. Like, let's say I've got an event in New York and I don't have boots on the ground in New York. I don't want to fly to New York. But I want to be able to sell to my client and say, yeah, I can help you out in New York. I'm going to reach out to Zach, my good friend, and say, hey, Zach, I have this client out there. Can you work with me on this project? and represent yourself as Lisa Oler. So Zach would roll up. I would provide, all of the creative. I would handle all of the client interactions. Zach and I would work together on how that pricing looks. I would either give Zach a number or he would give me a number, and we'd figure out something that makes sense for both of us. And then Zach would show up on site. Hey, I'm representing Lisa Oler. We have your event ready to go. He would perform the event, and then I would handle all of the client interactions post event. So he's an independent contractor working for me, representing me. But it's a completely transparent to the client. They don't see that they're working with a different partner. You're muted.
I'm just practicing, pretending it's 2020 again. Thank you for that. Thank you for the explanation. And I think that's something that's allowed us, and honestly, PBX for me and those networking events, bigger than buying a photo booth, it's being able to meet people in real life and see who I have good vibes with, who I trust, who I like, people whose work we've seen online all year long, and then building those relationships. And it's allowed OutSnap to have national coverage with really phenomenal people that we love working with. Before we dive in, I feel like we've been a little bit more deep on each of these than I had initially intended. So the next round of questions, we may have covered most of it already, but what's one thing that you're doing differently this fall? I'll start with this because it plays off of what you had just said, Lisa. We're getting a lot of people coming to us and refusing to share budgets. So it's two things. One, ChatGPT and Claude has made it very easy to send an email that makes it sound like you have a marginal idea of what you're talking about, but something's off, right? It's like kind of that uncanny valley. You're like, this person's either done like 5,000 photo booth events or literally woke up this morning and like, this is their first email about it. We recently lost it was 8 booths at 40 events, and we were bidding around 200K for it. And it was even more complicated because not only was it 40 events, but the booths were split up, and we had different people running each one, and it was ship and deploy. And it was like, it went from this very, very easy thing to manage. And then all of a sudden, all these other details started coming in. And then at the last second, they told us they had another vendor who would do it for $52,000, which was more than it would cost us for equipment. So I essentially said to them, look, like, we say all the things you say when you're trying to save a gig, but also like, what's your number? What do you want to spend on this, right? And because he kept asking me if I could get closer and closer to that number. And finally, I'm no longer going to like beg people for work. That's the thing that I'm doing differently, because if people aren't willing to be honest partners on that side and tell us what their goals are and what their budgets are, we're just spinning wheels and doing work for no reason. That's kind of my vibe on that. So that's something that we're trying to do differently, is like, if we can't qualify you and trust you as a partner, it doesn't seem like it's worth investing our high touch services in. Lisa, Meir, Zach, anything that you're doing differently this fall?
I mean, just what I said earlier, I'm using AI to really not say no to any client. And I mean, I'll give 2 examples. I had a client last fall, and this is kind of the start of all this, that needed a custom slideshow on a 50-inch TV that they were putting up with our array outputs. And like they sent me, they're very creative on their own right, and they sent me a mock-up of what they wanted. And like Snappic just like cannot do what they wanted. So I just went down the codex rabbit hole and uploaded the screenshots and said, like, this is what I need to do. And then you kind of get addicted to it. All right, I want it to auto update. I want it to cross dissolve or cube out and things in that. And then like we created a bespoke slideshow app in the course of a day or two. And we've also, done things like I have an issue with some encoding out of Premiere that when I put it into Breeze, it gives some artifacting, and I showed ChatGPT and it figured out it's a specific encoding issue inside Premiere, and I don't really use Final Cut or Motion or anything. And we built an app that properly fixes it, re-encodes it for the format it needs for the software. Like just those things to problem solve without being able to say, no, I can't do this to a client.
Yeah, and I think like this stuff sounds very high level, but I was a video game kid, and at like Super Mario Brothers 3 came out, and I was like, I never need another video game. I'll play this video forever. And this is the first time that I've had that sort of like addiction. I call it Code Boss. And it's gotten even harder now because it's easier to do everything. I used to be able to like go to sleep at a certain point where I like couldn't get past it. And now it's like I'll stay up all night trying to do a thing. I got annoyed with how expensive Mosaic software is. So I literally was like, screw it, this weekend, like
It's
I'm
totally
going
something
to-
that you could code yourself.
Yeah, instead of spending $5,000 giving it to these guys,
Mhm.
and it literally cost them $1 to service us, I'm just going to make my own Mosaic software.
Mhm.
So yeah, and it sounds intimidating, but anyone who hasn't played with any of these, like Lovable is a really easy, affordable way to play with some of this stuff. So that could be a whole other show and tell. Mayor, anything for you?
Yeah, with AI being so, I almost want to use the word pervasive, with respect to everything that we are going to be doing, and obviously everything that we've been doing. It's almost, I wouldn't say eliminating, but it's certainly revising a lot of products that used to be like their own thing.
Yeah.
And now it's just, oh, it's a look that AI is gonna do. So aside from, of course, having different language that we now employ to really try to get that budget idea out of people, or to find out what their goals are and concentrate on that, because what you actually sell is your time. That's actually what you sell. Not all these products. These products always change. What you sell is your time. And it's a value for you and for them, so you want to get down to the nitty-gritty. So we're trying to be extremely efficient moving into the next year to understand what products still need to exist so that our sales funnel doesn't get muddled by having all these options,
Mhm.
for people. And then, additionally, so trying to just go after bigger fish, not the people who want.
You gone? Or did I freeze?
No, I think Mayor,
What realistically
Mayor
should be
froze.
$15,000, and
Yeah.
sorry,
we lost you for a second there.
every 5.5 minutes. With sorry, so it's about trying to get the sales funnel like really efficient by making all of the options really focus, but also when they're coming at us with the whole big dream, small budget, find out what that is and give them an option that might fit within that scope if it's something that we want to take on.
Yeah, totally. Ruthie just jumped up on my lap. She wants to say hello.
Aw,
She
hi,
does. This is our
baby.
lead programmer. She does all of our vibe coding, all good vibes. Okay, see you later, dude. Neat. And I agree with that. And I think the other thing is that, I think most of us probably have AI in our sales funnels now in terms of being able to put together quotes quickly, things like that. But I always like kind of laugh to myself about my AI sending someone else an email for their AI to respond to it and back and forth, and it's just like this. So in the interest of time, we have about 10 minutes left. I would love to make sure we can open up for Q&A. Do you folks up here with me have an extra like 10 or so to go over?
Sure.
Cool. Hopping through the poll that I put out, we're seeing, interestingly, Glam Booth at 21%, AI Booth at 31%, Open Air at 38%, 360 at 7%. Obviously, there's some overlap in hardware and experience there, but for each of you, what do you see rising and what do you see cooling? We talked about 360 extensively, but is there something that people are asking for more and more? For us, it's that sort of photo booth-less photo booth.
For us, it's been a lot of inquiries are coming in for not photo products, if you will. It's, what can you do as an add-on to the photo booth?
Like
Obviously,
keychain.
keychains are still going to be, still going to be a big thing. Trading cards are still a big thing.
Yeah.
Enclosed photo booths have been making a resurgence.
Yeah. And
so
Lisa,
that's kind of what we're seeing. Yeah.
since you work with so many different partners, are you seeing that across the board with all of your partners as well? Like the same kind of requests coming into each of them?
Yeah, on the corporate side, because I deal solely in corporate. I don't do any social. So some of these things, like, I don't do so much 360 or Glam anymore, only because that's not really big in the corporate world. But we're seeing more of how can you take this event theme and give me an experience that is relatable?
Yeah.
And, whether that's using a photo booth or whether it's using some kind of like printed merch that you're doing on site or customization. So I guess for us, what's actually trending is theming our experience to the event.
100%. And I agree with that. At AdSnap, I think we are pigeonholed in more of the AI world as well, but we do a ton of those analog sit-in booths as well. Meir, how about yourself?
Going back to everything old is new again, things like keychains and so forth are not a new concept. They've just been elevated within our times. Back in the day, you would be at a 6-foot table, next to said photo op, putting them in the classic, little eye loops, and so forth. And these days, there's much more sophisticated presentations, charm stations, things of that nature, where now you get to, do each of the photos. There's a print individually for said keychains, things like that. Everyone always wants an accent. It's just that the importance of finding something for the times, is great. Quiet luxury is something that almost any person can attain in their own way, whether it's, actual luxury bags or fast fashion items for it. So treating yourself as like a concierge type service where you have a thing, it's specialized into that one thing, but you have like little offshoots that you can do, for it. It's always the thing that's been around. It's always the things that we've been done. It's just being able to evolve into what is hot now, for that moment, is a great thing. When the trading card situation came back around, I found it hilarious that I was showing friends how to do it, and I was busting out our die cutters that are like 15 years old. We had them before we had the photo booth company back in the day, and they're still perfectly,
Those
well
things don't get old.
Same thing with lenticulars. We did lenticulars way before we had a photo booth company, itself. And lenticulars are still a great and hot item. And I'm not trying to shame anybody. I'm just saying there's patterns, to everything. And you just got to take note, keep that stuff in your warehouse for a while, never throw it away. And every now and then it just comes right back around.
Yep. And I think also the ease of doing some of these things with new tech, like making a printed t-shirt on site, would have been infinitely more of a pain in the ass 10 years ago. And there's very simple ways to do these things now. You throw it behind a curtain and, you could have this thing out to someone with under 5 minutes, a t-shirt with their face on it. So, Zach, how about yourself?
Yeah, it's a lot of asks for just bespoke style outputs, not something that's necessarily on my website, but a client comes with like just here, this is what we want to do. It's usually video related or something. We're doing a lot of QR based survey microsites to register people that I'm fully theming out, again, by using AI to really dive into custom CSS, which is not my wheelhouse. To really give them a branded experience where they enter their info, choose their selections, get a QR back, and then we're using Zebra scanners to scan into our software. And then it auto text, sends, etc., to keep flows moving. And clients have found a lot of value in that extra branded element. So that's been a big thing for us. And also just again, like the t-shirts and stuff, bespoke style outputs. We did dual-sided postcards the other day. Where I had to prep, the back side, and then we printed the front side with their photo in real time. We do a lot of PBC ID cards for Apple TV for their various properties. I did something else. Oh, we did custom hair dye boxes for an influencer event for L'Oreal, where we surprised them. We were taking headshots and then we were editing off to the side and putting them on their exact color dye. They would go and meet a hairstylist, get their analysis of what dye they should be. They ran a card back to us with that information, and we put it on that style brand and color number, and then we adhesived it to the front of the actual product box of their dye, and then it was put on a display for when they left, and people just absolutely lost their mind.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Is there anything that you expected to pop off and it just didn't?
Again, I think the consumer level glambots. I was hoping so much for them. And
do you think that's
people do trading cards all over the place? I've done one. like
Yeah.
recently, and I think they're awesome. It's just I don't know if people are selling them better than me or whatnot, but like, um, yeah, that's never really been huge for us.
Understood. Understood. Lisa, Mayor,
Glambots.
same. Lisa,
Yeah, yeah.
cool.
Glambots, and for me now, like 360, I don't ever get those inquiries.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
I,
Three,
I would definitely pass that along to a white label partner if I ever got one.
360s, interestingly for us, are almost exclusively at this point holiday parties and
Mhm.
law firms.
Go figure, because the
Yeah.
last thing you want is a boring attorney standing on a platform with a camera rolling around. How
Who
many?
hurts
How many?
themselves because they're drunk. Yeah.
Exactly,
That's funny because
exactly.
we have a law firm that has done our sketch bots like 5 times now, and like that's all they want to do. They absolutely love
Oh, you
AI
got to
sketch
tell them
bots
about
and
the
caricatures,
360
and
booth.
every one of their like happy hours has a theme. So like we're doing one tomorrow, and it's like 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and they're just like, we want more caricatures. I'm like, okay, great. Which is like the easiest event to run, mind you. It's like a
Yeah.
5 minute setup, and like I love it. It's easy,
I
4 grand
love
in the
them.
pocket every time.
They're so fun to watch. They are
I hated them at
fascinating.
first, but
I
now
did too. I did too.
yeah.
I thought they
I
were
had a
horrible, and the software has really
they were
evolved.
Gotcha.
Not
yes.
not to yuck any yum, because I love easy, boring money as much as I love exciting, creative money. Two of the three last 360 booths we did were at insurance agency conferences, specifically the ones that bring families for it. So
Yeah.
least exciting 360 videos that you can imagine, for that, but they're paying full price because it's corporate, so it is what it is.
We do
Yeah, you see it like Disney still loves 360, mainly because it's a younger demographic.
the other time a 360 is great is if it's in a beautiful room. Like we do a bunch of stuff at BAM, Brooklyn Museum, in a big atrium room, and Perrier will get the 360 booth there all the time, and it looks gorgeous in that space. So
Yeah, it's like Gotham Hall too.
yes, 100%. Cool. I think we covered a lot of these questions inadvertently, but just a lightning round of like, what's the unprompted thing that people are asking for? And I think we all kind of unanimously agreed AI with no concept of what they actually want. Anyone else have anything they want to add to that? Or like, I want a glambot and I have $5,000. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Magazine booth?
The one that you stand in.
Ugh.
Yeah, there's certain things that I thought were gonna go and certain things that I didn't. Like I saw that and was like, no way. But people buy them and people use them. And we've lost events where we were gonna make digital magazine covers to those. And it's a different experience. And that goes back to what's the experience on site. Like it feels different to walk inside of a magazine booth. I don't want to own one though, personally. Cool. For this holiday season, and maybe if you put on, I know we have a mix of corporate and not corporate folks in the room, but if you can put on your not corporate hats from back in the day and give a little bit of advice, and maybe the corporate holiday parties, like I don't think of a corporate holiday party as a corporate event. It's a corporation hiring us, but it's much more like a private event. Have you seen any different changes in those briefs from last year?
My clients usually come to me the week after Thanksgiving. I
Mhm.
know a lot of people get them early. I don't know if New York's different, but like my clients generally come at me. They come back from the holiday and it's like all of a sudden it's Christmas season and like those budgets start to get allocated.
Mhm.
So I don't know if budgets have changed. I will say like it's usually our busiest month. Like weekends are free, but we're out there every night during the week.
Yeah.
And underselling yourself in that month is like a shot in the foot. I always boost my prices because the second you book someone for a date, you're gonna get another client with a heftier budget for the same date.
Yeah.
And you're gonna say shit. Like I shouldn't have, just tried. Like they will come and it will fill your calendar. Every year our calendar fills for the whole month.
Yeah, it's like there's like those first two Wednesdays and Thursdays that are just like
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything they want to add? Lisa, Mayor?
No, I'm just reading through your questions here. I was going to address the whole data capture thing.
Yeah, please.
I think that's definitely become a lot more of a red flag for corporate clients because of all of the data privacy restrictions. we are asked less and less to provide metrics in terms of, email addresses or cell phone numbers. More of our any type of sharing is done like via QR code, where they're just scanning and getting a microsite, and there is no data capture. It always really interests me, like if you're inviting all of these people to attend your event, you've already captured their email address to send them the invite. I never understood why they wanted me to continue to try and capture email addresses on site. But anyways, who owns the data? It's going to be the client. I guess it depends on how your DPA is written. But, typically we are just the data handlers. We are not the owners of that data. And if we have a client that's asking us to collect data, we have to make that information available to the end user. So if I'm collecting, Nick, if I'm collecting your email address at an event, I need to tell you that I'm collecting it, and I have to have that as a written policy that's part of the experience.
Agreed. And I think one of the
Yeah,
things. Sorry, go on.
No, you can go, Nick.
I was gonna just piggyback on that and say, like, one of the things to me that's fascinating about data privacy is it's intentionally vague, the laws, and a lot of the US privacy officers are operating off of GDPR or CCPA, which is the California equivalent, but there's no real laws around it in the US. And even in Europe, I know, Lisa, you work with a lot more European companies. It's intentionally vague and left open to the privacy officer to determine which side of the gray line they want to be on. And one thing that always blows my mind is they're like, we cannot collect email addresses. And they're like, but make sure you send us the gallery of photos with everybody's faces. I'm like, the faces, like that's their entire identity. So it's a lot of things that don't necessarily make sense. It's going back to that, like, what's AI, what's not AI, what's privacy, what's not privacy. And ultimately, I find that a lot of privacy officers just don't want their name on something that 5 years from now could go weirdly south in a way they didn't expect. So, go on there.
I was going to say, Zach and I share the same belief that semantics really are the linchpin of all the agreements that the lawyers at all these companies make us sign to and stuff like that. And if you really look at what they're making you agree to, it doesn't make freaking sense. But one time, and I still use this now because I thought it just puts them all at ease, and it shouldn't, because again, when you really look at it, it doesn't matter. One time, one of my big corporate clients for an installation had us write into it that we were the ones collecting everything. We were the ones storing it all. We were the ones in charge of securing it all. They were merely buying from us the final list of those contacts for them to use, right? So it somehow takes the onus off of them for where it is and how it's stored and how it's captured and stuff like that. Which, again, if you really look at it and think about it, it's like, that doesn't make any sense because I'm handing it off to you in what secured or unsecured way, and then where are you keeping it? That's on you.
It also allows them to wash their hands of how it's collected, whether it's legal or not. So you are the one at fault. We did an event for a client I won't name, a large credit card company in the fall. And at the 11th hour, they changed all these things. And like everything that they wanted us to put in contract would be in breach of contract. And we were working through an agency. So like, no, we weren't allowed to save the photos, but they needed the gallery. It was just like totally crazy. And so we actually had to have our lawyer work with the agency's lawyer. This was all happening 3 hours before the event, to write a separate contract that indemnified us of everything in our actual contract that we had to sign. It was like a totally wild experience because I was just like, I'm not going to do the event if you're literally asking me to sign a contract that by doing what you're asking me to do is in breach of the contract. It was like very extreme. So there's no shortage. It's the old adage, only the lawyers always win, right? Because it cost me several $1,000s to have my lawyer do that at that hour,
My favorite thing with contract redlining. Go ahead, Lisa.
No, you finish, and then I'm gonna put a shameless plug in.
Two notes. My favorite thing is they will love to redline my copyright clause and say I have no rights to any of the photos, to which, and I'm not a lawyer, but I love to send the reply, if I have no rights to any copyright, then I cannot send any guest photos and I cannot host them on our servers because that means you can sue me. And they say like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I'm like, then rewrite it to stay as such. Like, I don't need to use it for, promotional services, but you can't write off my copyright.
Yeah.
In terms of privacy, I work with Apple a lot, and Meir's white labeling me for Apple TV tomorrow down in Miami. And like they specifically like we'll do spot my photos with them, roaming event photography. All galleries get purged 24 hours after the event. Like if they don't download their photos, they're gone. We send a message to the guests saying like, "Hey, final warning, like download it." Apple does not want anything anywhere. The irony, because God knows the amount of information they have on you from all your iPhones and devices, but like they do not want to be tied up in anything privacy because like that's all their advertisements. Privacy, that's Apple.
Yeah. Yep. And it's nice that they're putting their money where their mouth is. So like a lot of folks want it both ways.
Yeah.
Lisa, what were you going to say?
I was just say, just a shameless plug for the Illuminate retreat. We have our lawyer on deck as one of our keynote speakers, as well as one of our sponsors. He'll be there to answer all of these questions that you all might have about your contracts, what liabilities you have, what's your exposure. Because we talked about that in the very beginning. Some of us went to college for everything but becoming a lawyer, and here we are running a business where we have to have lawyers on retainer now, just to protect our measly six-figure over how many year assets.
Yeah, it's wild. And it's also like the concept of ownership has shifted a lot since I started being a photographer. And copyright law has not changed, right? Like copyright law is literally written about a physical negative. It cannot really apply to a photo taken on an iPad that is instantly put on a CDN. The original doesn't exist anymore, right? So like there's all these really weird nuances that go into this, and it's never going to catch up because technology is just moving too fast. In the interest of time, I would love to take a few questions. I've seen questions coming through the chat. I have not been able to see them all as they come through, and many of them may not be relevant anymore. So what I would love is if we take 1 minute for folks to put in some questions, and then we will do about 10 minutes of Q&A, and then we will all see each other next week. So if anyone has any questions, now is the time. We did have one question come through that I did see earlier. Where did it go? That we can answer. We kind of answered it already. What is the thing that you think will be most popular this holiday season? For me, think it's going to be those interesting giveaways, the keychains, interesting printables. The sit-in booth is coming back more than anything else, I think. And I lost it. It'll come back to me. And 360 booths for lawyers. I'm firm on that. What is the average fee for an AI booth for a 4-hour activation? From Richard. That is a interesting question to answer because that is it depends on so many things, right? I would say for our company, we would start a 4-hour AI booth base level at least $5K, but we've done some 4-hour events that were in the $60,000, $70,000 range. So it's very hard to answer that question, Richard. Zach, anyone else want to just weigh in on some ranges on like what is the bottom end of the line for you?
There's a lot of open-ended questions there because
Yeah.
how many people are using it? Is it physical? Is it virtual? I mean, we did one physical that I think we did like 20 grand in over the course of 2 days. And then they made it a virtual event. And then like that link got out and people started using it from their home when like the event was wrapping. And I just noticed like sessions coming and I'm like, I got to shut it down because all of a sudden you can burn through your profit. The one thing AI booths are doing that I hope will do very well for this industry is make people raise their prices because you will lose so much money so fast if you underprice it.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah. How many themes are you doing? How long is that event going to run for?
Right.
Are you doing custom
Are they
themes?
custom
Are you
prompts or are they
doing
pre-built
template?
in? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
That question is, and I appreciate that question. It's just, there are a lot more questions that need to be asked in order to come up with a price for that.
Yeah.
I think that that's an important note that they both brought up because again, going back to how things, used to be when you were a budding photo booth company back in the day, and you were doing some unique product. Well, back in the very early days, the unique product was something like flipbooks or anything like that, where you had to like buy credits, to do so. So there was a material cost, there was a labor cost, and there was the credit cost. And the credit cost for producing one of those was almost 25% of every individual one of these that you were popping out, for it. And there were many, many would be, startup companies that were just, doing their best price to get it out there and do the most events. And at the end of the year, they did like 120 events and they realized they made like $15,000 in profit, for doing all this. And it's bupkis. So this is a great time, like Zach said, for people to really realize what their price structure, should be, because your hard costs are virtual. We're all moving to software as a service, essentially, unless you're doing something analog, as it were. So this is a great moment to really, really see what you're.
He was making a great point, so I'll finish it.
Really
Yeah, he was about to tell us the meaning of life. I knew it.
Amazing.
I saw it coming. On that note, just a quick question. I think Richard, maybe, or folks, would you like us to put together some sort of like cost estimator around AI booths? Because I think like I come from film. I know that when I shot a roll of 36 images, by the time I developed it, if I got 2 of them that were great, that was it cost me who knows how much. Now it's like $20 to get a roll of film, developed. So I'm used to like factoring in what I'm investing in this. And then the same thing goes for prints. Prints out of a printer cost, 13 to 30 cents, depending on your media. And these are things that should go into those decisions. On the AI booths for an hourly event, we bake in essentially the compute because we know you're not going to do more than 70 of these in an hour, right? But the other thing to think about is in Pictor, we have tokens as low as 7 cents a piece and as high as 20 cents a piece, depending on how many you buy. And there's some video that will be 15 tokens. That's a high res. We're doing some video for clients that are literally $9 a piece, like a render, right? So that's not exposed in the front end of Pictor, just because I don't think we have anyone who is going to be spending that. But that's like what a large model could cost you. So really factoring those things in. When we go to a virtual experience like Zach was talking about, we sell them in buckets of 500, right? So you're buying it like film. You can do 500 sessions. If we get close to that 500 sessions, we send you an email, do you want to buy more, right? So that way we're protecting ourselves. In Pictor, you do have a max number that people can use, so you can put your cutoff there. Zach, did you have something you wanted to add?
I just see a bunch popping up in the chat, and I did want to touch upon one,
Yeah,
if it's
please.
okay. I
Yeah,
see
yeah.
a lot of people asking about a Scribble booth and like,
Yeah.
is it popular? Would you do this? There's something I've done a lot of podcasts, and I've said the same thing over and over and over again. If you are waiting to get in on a trend because you want to see if it's going to be popular, by the time it is popular, you are too late.
Yes.
And like, I bought a Scribble booth at PBX. There's one there. There was one. I sold it to World Cup for 19 grand for a month drop off. It made its money back. I've done a few other events with it. Stephanie's in this chat. She can tell you the amount of leads she gets for it. I don't think it's the best Scribble booth out there. There's not a lot. I think there will be 15 of them at PBX next year. And by that time, everyone will be doing it for $500.
Right.
I start at $3,500, because people don't have them. When 360 started, nobody was doing it because nobody owned one except OrcaView OM Digital and Lisa's boss in the UK. I bought one off of Lisa's boss, had it freighted over from the UK for over 10 grand. But I knew I was making my money back on it, and I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars on it. But people now ask, is 360 worth the investment? Probably not, because you can buy them for $4 from China now. Like, anyone can start a business. So and you had in your slides here, are audio guest books popular? Yeah, they were popular 5 years ago. I had $100,000 sub business with it. Now I sell 6 a year. Like, it's everything changes. But by the time that gets to the Chinese market, by the time it gets to the PBX market, you've missed your opportunity. It's not to say you can't make money still, but the big money is gone.
Yeah, and I think
getting the lead, there's a reason Stephanie and I get leads for Scribble Booth. We both SEO optimized it when nobody had a page in February. And now we are Google authorities on that. So we get leads from around the country. I'll make pages for services that I don't even offer yet because I see it, because I need to see if people are searching for it. I don't pay for marketing. I don't, go out and network much anymore. I just don't have the time in my life. But those things do it for me.
Agreed. And I think, I think that cycle is a lot faster than it used to be too. You used to have a year or two on a trend, and now it's pretty instant. We started doing AI in 2023. Other software started offering it in 2024, and now it's everywhere again. And each of these things are going to, and I think like one thing that someone mentioned in here earlier, and someone else in the chat was asking like one piece of advice for someone starting. Someone on the panel, maybe Lisa, it was you or Zach, you have to know what your time is worth, because a lot of folks do not factor that into the event. Your client thinks that they're just paying for the time that you're on site. That is the least expensive part of the experience for us. Like, I send someone to the event, they do the event, I pay them an hourly fee, and that's it. My time before, if I spend 10 hours on the line with someone, I used to think of my rate as $250 an hour, but I've recently mentally been trying to raise it to $350 an hour, because all of the people that we pay have started charging us more for things. So I have to change my mental rate, right? So those are the things of like, what are you actually spending in terms of time prior to the event, after the event? So those are the things that I would suggest as someone getting into the world to think about, and really think about seriously, versus just, oh, I made $500 today, which, yes, you had $500 transfer hands, but if you spent 10, 15 hours on it prior to the event plus 4 hours on site, you have to divide that $500 in your hand by everything you've done to date. So, let's see, do we have another question here? Reaction to the Scribble Booth. Are you doing themes around GTA 6 for birthday parties? I'm assuming that's a Pictor related question. We would not create anything that is copyrighted or trademarked. If you are able to clear that with the client, we do have custom prompt building that you can do in our system. And you can also go on to probably ChatGPT or Gemini and say, hey, help me come up with a prompt to do this, drop it in our system and work. But once again, we do expect you to clear those trademarks and copyrights before doing anything like that. Do we have time? Let's do one last question, and then we will wrap it up. Biggest mistake people make. I think I answered for Catalina.
I like the one about what was your where was it? What event are you most proud of?
Oh yeah, that would be great. Zach, go for it.
Yeah, so I did an event for Chase and Apple last year that I flew Catalina in, who's in the chat, to help me with, where we did 6 bespoke photo and video ops based around their Apple TV properties. It was a 3-day whirlwind event, and it was all because Apple is private. We weren't allowed to share anything, so everything had to be tied together in custom QR galleries. We made PVC ID cards with custom UID QRs on it that linked the galleries. 5 out of the 6 photo ops were made in Breeze. The 6th one was a full production glambot recreating the Severance elevator shot, the Zolly Zoom, if you know it, using the actual kit from the show. But we had to tie that into the guest gallery. So I bespoke created a Zebra barcode scanner app that tied into APIs from Breeze Cloud and synced the output video to their custom gallery, which was wild. And I was constantly adding features and redundancies for like when the internet went down and things, and coding on the go while this event was live. And it was, I mean, monetarily, it was over 150 grand in profit, well, or in sales, I guess. I mean, it was just a wild, wild event that was NDA that I just broke, and I really can't talk about or share any of it anywhere. So that's fun.
Meir, passing to you.
On paper, it wasn't the most exciting thing, but it taught me a lot, and it's now honed how everything is going to get sold for big conferences, conventions, and big nights like this. We partnered with another photo software company to provide the actual physical photo ops for a big capital company's holiday party. And it was three main photo ops in the grand foyer. It was two photo studio photo ops doing live spool printing in like a whole other space. And then it was like two 360 booths, all one night, 3 hours, 6 hours if you count how long the 360s were there. But it was a big lesson because like something clicked in my brain finally to start proposing and listing everything out in a more production-esque kind of way in working with the company that we were partnered for their RFID image delivery and working with the production company that was producing the entire event over the whole weekend for it for that. So it was a big paycheck, which is great. But it was also a great way to really understand how they normally operate. And it was a great way for me to really do a full understanding of what each and every individual part was billable as, for it. It was, instead of making it like one big package that says, all right, we're going to do all this, and here's the bottom line. It's like, we're going to do this for base. This is the add-on. We're doing this for time. We're doing this at this point. It gives them an understanding that not that you're charging them for everything, but that you understand every little single thing that goes into it to make it something that's going to work. And that's, I believe that's why they went with us, overall for it, because we listed out an understanding of every little step that needed to go into us delivering what the client wanted and how it all needed to get integrated.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I know that there's an ongoing debate about the like line item versus full package. I've never found a client who would be happy with our not line items. So I've always been amazed with people who could just give one price for the whole thing. But cool, that's awesome. Thank you both for sharing. Lisa, how about yourself?
I think one of the most fun events that I did was I white labeled this for another company back in the day. It was for the WWE, and it was in New Orleans. And I had an enclosed photo booth back in the day, and we did it was more like face in the hole kind of thing, where you put your face, you could choose whatever WWE wrestler you wanted to become. And it was before AI, so we didn't have any way to just turn you into this character. So it was all, PNG images, and people had to line their face up. It was fun. It was different. It was, creative back then. And I got to go to New Orleans and have fun. And my husband and I flew out. Nothing like earth-shattering, groundbreaking, but it was very fun for me back in the day.
Yeah, and I think I will close with something that feels a little bit wholesome. Well, two things. One, and this goes into AI, privacy, copyright, trademark, but short story. We just did a big thing at Comic-Con. And even though you could do this so much better with AI and all these other things, all the rights holders that have to be involved and sign off on AI for something that's from TV and film, it's like a no-fly zone. So we actually just did a choose your own adventure type experience that was just that PNGs with holes in it, and people pop their heads in different spots. Not because we couldn't do it with AI, but because legally it would have been just a minefield to get it approved. For me, we recently had a client who sent me a very long thank you note for an event acknowledging our contribution to the event in a way that I haven't gotten in a minute. And I think in sort of modern times, we're all guilty of working so fast that the only time we kind of revisit something that just happened is if something went wrong and you have to clean it up. And it was very meaningful to me, and it kind of changed also my relationship again to why I'm doing this. And also our follow-ups with clients after the events as well now. Similar to like Meir having that sort of eureka moment. I was like, oh, we used to do this and we stopped doing it because often clients don't respond to our post-event recap emails, but it doesn't matter that they're not responding because they're still receiving it. And I still think it's important to share thanks and explain what we liked about it. So that's been something for me that's been on the top of mind, and how we can bring more sort of thankfulness to our clients and to our staff and everyone along the line. So
I would encourage you all to get custom printed note cards and handwrite thank you cards to each of your clients. I
mhm.
mean, everybody gets emails and nobody opens them, but nobody gets notes in the mail anymore.
Yeah, how do you get
Go back
people,
to the way your mama taught you.
how do you get people's mailing addresses now? I guess more people are coming back to the office, but for a while it was like a very strange because we used to do the handwritten thank you notes and they kind of went the way of the dodo once everyone started working remotely. But do you just ask for people their mailing address?
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely.
Neato. Excellent. Well, there has been so much that we covered today. We will recap as much of it as possible. I will try and pull links that went through the chat and include them in the show description. And thank you to Zach, Meir, and Lisa for taking time out of their days. Thank you to everyone else who has taken time out of their day to be here with us and the questions and the interactions. Once again, up on the screen, if you scan that QR code, I will drop this link in the chat too, if that's easier for you to click. That is 50 free AI tokens. You do need a Pictor account, which is free to sign up. That's the only way we can give you the tokens within the account. And we're also going to be giving away 5 winners for PBX Europe. So thank you. If everyone wants to turn on your cameras and wave goodbye. I always like to end by saying we can't wait to see what you create. So please do share your outputs with us and things that you're proud of made in or outside of Pictor. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.